everyone, Christy here with you today with a fun little tutorial on how to color pleats and folds in fabric using the Chameleon color tones markers. So today I'm going to be using OR4 and I'm going to be using the digital stamp Daffodil Fairy. Now I picked this image because it had some nice wide ruffly folds here for you to play with, and I'm going to show you how to go from this plain image here to this using our R4. Now if you've worked with the Chameleon markers before, then you know that you are going to be using one marker to get a range of colors all the way from pretty much a white, which is obviously your paper, down to the full saturated color of your marker. And you're going to be doing that by using the colorless toner chamber that is at the end of your marker. Now for coloring fabric, the trick is to give it some illusion of dimension even though it is a two-dimensional drawing. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using that range of colors in kind of like a gradient to give that illusion. So what I like doing with the Chameleon markers is to first use the full saturated color to kind of mark in where I want the darkest areas of color. I do this just as a little bit of like a visual reference to kind of give myself goals of working toward when blending from the lightest color to the more saturated color. This might be your chosen technique, but I found that this works really good for me and kind of keeps me in line a little bit, if you could say. So now that I've marked those in, and I've marked them in the areas of the fabric that kind of dips in, and you can kind of see that along the outer edge of the dress. So it's a great indicator to look for when coloring fabric. You notice that the areas that it dips in or is marked by these little lines in the art, that you can see that this is where the more shadowy areas of the folds would be. So to build up our gradient, I'm going to combine my brush tip into my toner chamber. I'm doing that off camera because it's better to hold it up and down, and that's a little hard to do on camera, for about 5 seconds. Now the bigger the area, like say over here, then the longer you might hold it on for. And the more proficient you get using these, the more you'll get an idea of how long to couple them together for. So I'm starting out with about 5 seconds, and I'm just going to start over on the side of the image. Now I'm keeping my light source in mind of heading in this kind of direction, and I chose that because of the flower here on top, that I'm going to have a nice little cast shadow when I get done coloring it all the way. So I'm going to start with my lightest section here, facing toward my light source, and just slowly work my way back to the darkest. And then I'm going to go back and couple my marker for about another 5 seconds. You can kind of just count it in your head or get a feel for it. And go right back to the image. Now in the areas like we have here where there isn't a nice line between to kind of give yourself a good break, what you can do is start in the middle and then work back the opposite direction. That way you can get the blend in two directions at the same time. I'm going back again, and I'm just going to keep working this way around my dress. Same kind of idea. Just kind of building up that gradient. You can just kind of keep an eye on the color as it goes down, and then you'll be able to see when you're starting to get a darker color, if you should leave it on longer, any of that kind of good stuff. Now you might think that because you're not switching from marker to marker that this actually takes more time than if you were to bust out, say, 2 or 3 different markers, but in actuality I find that it takes less or about the same. So not necessarily a worry. Now this area over here is more away from my light source, so I'm going to give it a little more of my color saturation than I did over yonder. Yonder's a good word for today. Kind of like that. And do a quick 1-2, and then work in the opposite direction to blend this a little bit together. And then I'm going to come back over here and finish this up. Let's turn it a little bit. And voila! As long as you can kind of visualize where the darker portions are, like I did by using the outer rim of the line of the dress, and then using the technique of adding in your shadows so you have the little goals to work toward, then layering in that gradient is a really easy next step using the chameleons. So I hope you like this tutorial, and I will see you next time.